We've had a couple of exciting things happen, so I just wanted to give you all a quick update. We've had a bushfire and the wild pigs have been digging up our ground, and we finally got our concrete poured. These are our neighbour John's cows that have come to say hi. This was my first office setup. You can probably hear the wind turbine in the background. We've had super strong winds today. Step into my off-the-grid office. This is my office for when it's a little bit more sunny and warm. My partner and I are both very lucky to work for companies that allow us to work full-time from home. Being able to just look around at this beautiful countryside while I'm working is so good for my mental health. So for those of you that don't know, we're living off the grid and we've been living and camping in and around this shed. So far we've only had a dirt floor, which meant the rodents and spiders and all sorts of insects could get in, and the dirt and dust would get all over everything. An off-grid cocktail hour is a lot quieter than it used to be when I was in my 20s and in the city. How's the serenity? So we actually had a bushfire on our property that got a little bit out of control. The fire brigade came and it was all sorted, but it just reminds you that you always need to be prepared. A few weeks later, and after a fair bit of rain, you wouldn't even know that the grass had been burnt. It's so beautiful to wake up here in the mornings. Sometimes you just have to pinch yourself. The average temperature here at the moment is between 8 degrees and 20 roughly, and it's just the perfect temperature. Here is a bunch of Sawfly Larvae. They feed mainly on native trees and shrubs such as eucalypts, paperbarks and bottle brushes. They usually hang out in closely packed groups. They are also called spitfires and they damage their food plants. One day we noticed this really loud humming coming from this tree. It was like a vibration. It was almost like Avatar. When we went over to the tree, we noticed it was just full of honeybees, European honeybees. And if you listen closely, you can hear the honeybees and you can see them flying around. I finally got admitted to the hospital for my iron infusion. So they're saying that I'm just going to keep improving over time, which is great. You can see the dark line where the iron went up my vein. So the wild pigs out here have been digging up the ground everywhere. Wild pigs in Australia actually descend from your regular domestic pig. But they look similar to Euro-Asia's wild boar than the regular domestic pig. They tend to have sparse, coarse hair on lean, muscular frames. And they have well-developed necks and shoulders that taper to short hindquarters. They're mostly black or a rust colour, or they can be black and white spotted. They don't usually have very good eyesight, but they have a good sense of smell. And they form groups. At least the pigs or the sheep or the other wild animals haven't got to our seedlings that we planted last time. They seem to be thriving and they look really great. This one's the native mint bush. I'm looking forward to drying the leaves from this one and making a cup of tea. And this one's our African basil. Those violet flowers are looking gorgeous. Parts of the African basil can be eaten and you can make an awesome pesto from it as well. The flowers are great for attracting bees and other pollinators as well. This one looks like a rosemary. I love rosemary and our roasted vegetables. Another African basil. And this little guy is actually popped up from our compost heap that we started in the ground. It looks like it might be some sort of squash or zucchini or something like that. So that's awesome. Let us know if you know what it is in the comments below. So this area is well known for the changing seasons and the beautiful colours of the trees. It's autumn now, so the trees are just starting to change colour. In a few more weeks, these trees are just going to be blazing with colour from gold to scarlet. And the fallen leaves form magic carpets. So while the concrete truck needed to come and pour the concrete in the shed, we had to get everything moved outside of the shed. Luckily, our neighbour Richard had come with his tractor to fix our little bridge that goes over the creek because it had previously been washed out with all the heavy rains and it wasn't safe to use. The concrete truck made it over, thank goodness. And we got our slab poured in the shed and it looks fantastic. So we're really happy with the outcome. I'll leave the link to the contractor in the comments below. So we've done a little bit more research on the wind turbine and we think that if we move the wind turbine to the back of the shed and we got the concrete to pour a little triangle slab of concrete for us to move the wind turbine, but that means the wind turbine will be closer to the shed, so there'll be less space for it to travel to charge up the battery. So after the concrete was poured, Paul and his dad Rod pressure washed all the inside of the shed out to get all these spider webs and spider eggs and insects and the dirt and the dust to be all washed out, so it was nice and clean to bring everything back in. Having a concrete floor and no dust and spiders is going to be like living in luxury for us from now on. So now we just have to wait for the cement to dry so that we can put everything back in the shed, and then we'll start looking at framing up some rooms and getting a fireplace. Happy days.